The connection seems impossible at first glance, a glitch in the logic of the commercial world that defies all common sense. On one side of this equation, you have the industrial, dirty, and petroleum-scented reality of vulcanized rubber, manufactured in massive factories where the air tastes of sulfur and burning carbon. On the other side, you have the delicate, ephemeral, and hyper-expensive world of haute cuisine, where white truffles are shaved onto bone china, and sauces are reduced for 48 hours to achieve the perfect viscosity. We accept this link without question today, blindly following the recommendations of a tire manufacturer when we decide where to celebrate our most significant life milestones or where to spend an entire paycheck on a single meal. But if you stop to pull back the curtain, the question begins to gnaw at you, demanding an answer that goes deeper than simple corporate diversification. Why does a company that specializes in the physics of friction and road grip hold the absolute power to make or break the careers of the most artistic chefs on the planet? To understand this, we must act as forensic historians, peeling back the layers of marketing varnish to reveal the desperate economic anxiety that birthed the Michelin Guide. We have to transport ourselves back to the year 1900, a time when the world was on the precipice of the modern era, but not quite there yet. In the entirety of France, a country with a population of millions, there were fewer than 3,000 automobiles on the roads, and most of those were owned by the ultra-wealthy eccentrics who treated them as toys. André and Edouard Michelin were brothers with a vision, but they were also businessmen, staring into the abyss of a market that simply did not exist. They had built a factory to produce pneumatic tires, a revolutionary technology that promised a smoother ride than the solid rubber or wooden wheels of the past. However, a tire manufacturer has a fundamental problem that is distinct from almost any other product in the industrial marketplace. A tire only fulfills its purpose, and more importantly, a tire only wears out if the car it is attached to is moving. If a car sits in a garage draped in a dust sheet, the tires last forever, and the Michelin brothers go out of business. The silence of the French countryside was the enemy of their profit margins. They needed the roar of engines and the friction of asphalt to survive. They realized that they were not in the business of selling rubber. They were in the business of selling distance. They needed to manufacture a reason for the aristocracy and the bourgeoisie to leave their homes, to fire up their engines, and to grind down the tread on their expensive tires. And so, the Guide Michelin was born, not as a celebration of culinary arts, but as a tactical manual for the early motorist who was terrified of the open road. The first edition, published in August of 1900, was given away for free, a small blue book that looked more like a mechanic's manual than a Bible of luxury. It contained maps, instructions on how to change a tire, locations of petrol stations, and almost as an afterthought, a list of places to eat and sleep. The brilliance of the strategy was insidious. It was a long con designed to alter human behavior on a national scale by highlighting restaurants in the countryside, far away from the bustling center of Paris. The Michelin brothers were subtly daring drivers to travel further. Every mile traveled to taste a specific roast chicken or a legendary fish stew was a mile of rubber scraped off the tire, bringing the customer one step closer to buying a replacement. For 2 decades, the guide remained a practical tool, a glove box companion that offered utility but held no real authority over the culture of food. But the brothers were observant, and they noticed that the section on restaurants was generating the most chatter among the driving public. In the year 1926, the strategy shifted, and the guide began to award a single star to fine dining establishments, marking the beginning of the era of judgment. 5 years later, the hierarchy we know today was established. 1 star, 2 stars, and the Holy Grail, 3 stars. The definitions of these stars reveal the true intent of the tire company, a code that has been hiding in plain sight for nearly a century. 1 star meant a very good restaurant in its category. It was a nod of approval, a safe bet for the traveler. 2 stars meant excellent cooking, worth a detour. Notice the language of the road, the command to deviate from your path. 3 stars meant exceptional cuisine, worth a special journey. This was the ultimate command, an instruction to drive hundreds of miles solely for the purpose of a meal. The 3-star rating was the ultimate engine of tire consumption, a mechanism to force the wealthy to drive from Paris to Lyon or from Marseille to Alsace. To enforce this system, Michelin created a shadow army of inspectors, men and women who remain anonymous to this day, operating like Cold War spies in the world of hospitality. They are forbidden from speaking to the press, forbidden from revealing their identity to the chefs, and forbidden from accepting a free meal. This secrecy created an atmosphere of paranoia in kitchens across France, where every customer could potentially be the executioner of a chef's reputation. The psychological weight of the stars began to grow heavier than the iron stoves the chefs cooked upon. A chef who held 3 stars was no longer just a cook. He was a guardian of a status that, if lost, could result in financial ruin and public humiliation. The pressure turned kitchens into pressure cookers of anxiety, where a slightly overcooked scallop or a sauce that lacked the perfect shine could spell disaster. This was no longer about selling tires. It had mutated into a pursuit of perfection that disregarded the human cost of those striving to achieve it. The brothers had created a monster, a system of validation that became more important than the food itself. Chefs began to design their menus not for their customers, but for the invisible inspectors, tailoring their cuisine to fit the perceived criteria of the Red Guide. This homogenization of taste was the unintended consequence of the rating system, creating a global standard of luxury that often felt sterile and repetitive. But the darker side of this story is not just about bland food. It is about the lives that have been shattered by the relentless pursuit of the stars. We must speak of Bernard Loiseau, a culinary giant who had spent his entire life chasing the approval of the Michelin inspectors. He had achieved the summit, holding 3 stars and becoming a national hero in France, the face of a new generation of lighter, fresher cooking. But in the early 2003s, rumors began to circulate that he was in danger of losing his 3rd star. The mere suggestion of this demotion sent him into a spiral of despair, a testament to how deeply the identity of a chef is intertwined with the rating of a tire company. Tragically, Loiseau took his own life, a victim of a system that treats artistic output as a measurable commodity. His death sent a shockwave through the culinary world, forcing a momentary reckoning with the power that this guide holds over the mental health of human beings. Yet the system did not stop. The guide continued to publish and the chefs continued to strive, trapped in a cycle of validation and fear. It is a Stockholm syndrome on a global scale, where the victims worship the entity that holds them captive. As we move into the modern era, the influence of the guide has expanded far beyond the borders of France. It has colonized Asia, North America, and the Middle East, exporting its definition of luxury to cultures that have their own ancient culinary traditions. The expansion is not just about food, it is about brand dominance, ensuring that the name Michelin is associated with excellence in every corner of the globe. When you buy a set of Michelin tires for your family sedan, you are subconsciously buying into this lineage of quality, even if you never set foot in a starred restaurant. It is one of the most successful marketing campaigns in the history of capitalism, a century-long effort to associate burning rubber with the highest attainable pleasure. But we must ask ourselves, as consumers and as lovers of food, are we complicit in this high-stakes game? Do we value the star more than the meal? Do we value the status more than the sustenance? If you are enjoying this investigation into the hidden mechanics of the luxury world, I urge you to subscribe to this channel. Your support allows us to remain independent and to continue digging into the stories that corporations would prefer to keep buried in the archives. Leave a comment below and tell us if you have ever chosen a restaurant based on these stars, or if you prefer the hidden gems that no inspector has ever found. The reality of the situation is that the Michelin Guide is a relic of the industrial age surviving in a digital world. It was born from the exhaust fumes of the early combustion engine and the smell of raw gasoline. It was a tool to manipulate logistics, to turn the idle wealthy into active travelers, and to burn through inventory at a faster rate. That it became the arbiter of taste is an accident of history, a mutation of marketing that grew out of control. Today, the tire company is a multinational giant, and the guide is a separate entity, but the umbilical cord has never been cut. The red book is still red, the color of blood and warning, sitting on the pass of every ambitious kitchen. The inspectors still roam the earth, silent and judging, carrying the weight of careers in their pockets. And somewhere on a lonely highway, a car is driving through the night, its tires humming against the asphalt. The driver is hungry, looking for a place to stop, guided by a century of conditioning. The rubber wears down microscopic particle by microscopic particle, fulfilling the prophecy of the Michelin brothers. They wanted to sell tires, and in doing so, they sold us a dream of perfection that is as elusive as it is expensive. The next time you see that star, remember the factory smoke and the blackened hands of the workers who built the foundation it rests upon. Remember that the road to luxury is paved with rubber, and the toll is paid by the chefs who burn themselves out to keep the journey going. This is the alchemy of the modern world, transforming the foulest industrial product into the symbol of ultimate refinement. It is a magnificent trick, a sleight of hand that has lasted for more than 100 years. And as long as we keep driving, and as long as we keep eating, the Michelin Guide will continue to steer the wheel. It is the ultimate proof that in our society, commerce and culture are not just connected. They are one and the same organism. The tire and the truffle are forever locked in a dance, a waltz of consumption that has no end. We are all passengers in this vehicle, watching the scenery blur as we speed toward the next 3-star destination. The engine roars, the kitchen shouts, and the silent inspector takes another bite. And the tire keeps rolling, turning, and wearing away, just as it was designed to do.